shall bestow a gift on the child.
Before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, she will fall into a sleep like death.
Angelina Jolie, a genuine pleasure to meet you to talk about Maleficent. How are you, first of all?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very happy to be here.
Let's start with, I think, the most pertinent question, which is, this is your first on-screen role for 4 years. So what is it about this character, this role, and this movie that made you want to step back in front of the camera?
I loved her when I was a little girl. I thought she was so terribly, she was frightening, but she was powerful and elegant and deliciously wicked. She seemed to really be enjoying herself. So I did always like her. When I heard they were making a film about her, I was very curious. But then I read the script and I was really moved by it. It's a great, forget the Disney, forget the horns, it's a great story. And it was beautifully written, and it goes back in time to learn about who she was and how she became the mistress of all evil.
What a glittering assemblage, King Stefan. Royalty, nobility, the gentry, and how quaint. Even the rebel.
The animated original from the 50s, that one is, you know, Sleeping Beauty's point of view. And Maleficent's obviously the villain, but she's very mysterious and you don't know, why she's so angry and how'd she become so evil like this? And it's nice because the questions that you have from that film, our movie answers those questions, and you get to see Maleficent's point of view and kind of her backstory on what eventually led up to her cursing a baby. Cursing me, cursing baby me.
I must say, I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
You're not welcome here.
I guess if you're in the baby cursing business, you are fundamentally a villain. No matter what your backstory.
Yeah.
You curse a baby, you go on a list somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh dear, what an awkward situation.
It's, I guess, a big responsibility, not just bringing who is, I think I'm right in saying, the most loved Disney villain of all time into a live-action environment, but also for you as a fan of the character. Did you sort of feel a lot of responsibility?
Yes. I was very nervous. Especially the original, she's not real, so she's perfect and she's magic, and the voice of the original was just, so rich and deep, and her laugh and everything about her.
On her 16th birthday, she would prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel.
The first thing you want to do is just do everything you can not to disappoint the fans of the original, and try to pay respect and homage to her and make sure that you don't mess that up. And I practiced a lot with my voice. First we had to get the look down, and I think we got it right in the end, but we had many failed attempts on the way that were pretty ridiculous that maybe will show up at some point. And then I had to get her voice down, so I studied British theater actresses to just listen to this sound and this love of words and this big voice and try to, and at the end of the day, I just tried to think about the audience and think about my children and try to do whatever I thought would make people laugh and be excited by, and tried to just have a good time and hope that the audience did with me.
And potentially terrify them, because she is.
And potentially terrify.
She's kind of scary as well.
Scary.
How much input did you have into that costume? Because obviously you're working alongside multi Academy Award-winning Rick Baker on the makeup side. So was there certain things you went, I need that, and I need this, and this?
Well, Rick's so great, and we spent a lot of time talking about just that I didn't want to be, because it is a real story, and I had to do real scenes, and I didn't want to hide behind makeup, and that was the first thing we decided, which is that she couldn't just be slap a bunch of stuff on me and kind of turn it into something else. It was, okay, what what makes her, you know, a creature that you could actually have serious scenes and not be distracted by something, whatever that thing is going on. And the horns were the first thing we worked on, and they also had a life of their own. They went in many different ways, from little teeny cute horns to antelope horns to devil horns to, but Rick's a genius, and he kind of found the right ones. The
first sort of real reaction that you're going to get to your costume is when other people see you. So what was it when you stepped out of the makeup room? What was it like when the crew, Robert Stromberg, the director, the cast sort of went, wow?
I think I knew we'd done it right, and this is going to sound so terrible and such a horrible story, but I knew I'd done it right when I walked up and a little kid came to visit with his mom, and I was in my trailer, and I came out to the living room, and he just froze in horror and just stood there and then just cried. And I shut the door and I hid in the back room because I couldn't go past him. I couldn't go even closer to him, so I couldn't actually leave, and I had to hide in the back of the trailer until they calmed him down and he left. And I didn't know quite what had happened, but I realized, you know, I'm like 7.5 foot in heels. I have these, it was somehow just, it was like the devil had just entered the room. And so I promise parents, the kids will not have that reaction in the movie.
Yeah.
Theater, you will actually, she's, you know, but in person, I got quite a reaction from children.
When I saw her the first time, I mean, we met one another and rehearsed when she was sort of in her civvies or whatever, and then the first time I saw her in costume was when they took me on set to do my first scene, and she was already stood in the middle of this set with all these rocks with her back to us and with these big horns, and I was pretty intimidated, I have to say. I thought, what the, you know.
I didn't know what her look was gonna look like until I did see her on set, and it's like striking, you know. I wasn't scared, but I was more excited because I'm like, Maleficent's wearing leather and like all this stuff. You could just see her take on it, and yeah, she was really owning it.
I kept forgetting, and I kept thinking, I'm a Disney character, and I love children. So I'd see children and think, oh, I should go visit them and say hello. And I would go over and say hello. And this one little boy said, Mommy, please tell the mean witch to stop talking to me. And anyway, I stopped trying to talk to children.
I know who you are. You've been watching over me my whole life. I know you're there. Your shadow has been following me ever since I was small. Don't be afraid.
I am not afraid.
Then come out.
So we see a different side of Maleficent. Obviously, you play Aurora, the princess.
Yeah.
Is she different from how we've seen her in previous incarnations?
She is. Yeah, she's not as. I mean, she still is so loving and you know, innocent. But she's not as delicate. You know, she's not as weak. She has a lot of more strength to her and more depth. And a lot of secrets are kept from this Sleeping Beauty in our film, and she finally, those secrets kind of unravel, and she does find them out, and that makes her have to kind of take control and find the power in herself and go do things, and you know, that she needs and wants to do. So it's nice that she's not just, oh, a pretty princess, you know, walking around in the forest. It's like she has substance to her. How
does someone prepare for a role that is so well known globally?
I know, and I'm her like biggest fan. She's always been my favorite princess. I felt like when I was little I related to her the best just because of the way she looked. I felt like she was the one I looked most like, and so because of this, I felt a huge responsibility just to do justice for all the little, you know, the girls that are fans of her like I was. And I'd watched the film the animated one so many times, but I watched it right before just to kind of analyze her in a way, because she's drawn a certain way that, you know, she has certain hand gestures and mannerisms and her posture. She's also one of the tallest princesses. So I just took that and incorporated that. So, you know, you'd feel like it's still in the Disney family and you're still watching Aurora, just in human form.
What were your feelings about that original? I mean, like, obviously you saw it a long time ago, as well as watching it recently. What are your memories, for your first reaction to seeing that kind of magical story brought to life in classic Disney style?
There's so many iconic, you know, that christening is so iconic, and the pricking of the finger, that scared me, that scene when I was little, the pricking of the finger. I thought that scared me more than Maleficent herself, because I felt like in that scene Aurora was turning into Maleficent in a weird way, because she was in that trance and that green and purple light started to shed on her. So when we did, you know, that scene in the film, that was probably the most challenging one that we had to film for me, because it was so iconic and I wanted it to be right. So, but we had the lights and it worked out.
Faster, Diavol, faster!
Obviously, you've done a lot of work with green screen and special effects before, but this is on another scale from what I've seen. What is it like acting with like invisible creatures? Because there's fairies, there's every kind of woodland folk. I think
yes, there is every kind of woodland folk.
So I mean,
I think the funniest was me and Sam, because he turns into different creatures. Which we always were joking that it was this, what a strange relationship we had. Anytime he's trying to talk, I kind of do this, and he just turns into an animal. But Sam would have to suddenly, I'd do this, and he'd have to, like, just either sink to his knees and disappear, or he'd have to, like, spread his wings and turn into a So Sam has probably had the strangest time with it.
My character's called Diaval, and he's a raven, essentially. And he's about to be killed by a farmer when Maleficent turns him into a human, scaring the farmer off. And for saving my life, I swear sort of allegiance and servitude to Maleficent. I become her spy and her ally, and she turns me into whatever animals, whatever creatures she sees fit. It was a weird role, really, because I always like to do a bit of homework before I go on set or something. I'll do, you know, that's sort of one of the fun things about doing this job. But I didn't really know what to do with this, so we had an idea that I would spend some time with ravens, because have you ever actually been up close with one? They're pretty enormous. I mean, they're, you know, crows, whatever like this, but a raven was sort of this big or something. And they're really intelligent as well. They sort of make you feel uneasy, because you think, you know, they seem like very smart animals. And I sat in a room for a day or afternoon with a raven, me at one end of the table and the other, which is pretty surreal. And we're sort of just looking at it, seeing if anything was going to sink, you know, whether there are any elements that I could use in the thing. And then we had a movement coach as well. That was nuts, because I did actually, by the end of the session, run around the room waving my arms. She was like, "We should film this." I was like, under no circumstances is anyone going to film me running around the room waving my arms about.
And we keep talking about this as a live-action film. Obviously, there is a huge amount of animation in it in terms of there's fairies, there's pixies, all manner of woodland folk. What's it like acting against like things that just aren't there? Did you have the director sort of go, okay, there's a guy with the head of a toadstool who's following you around right now? What happens?
Yeah, it's a huge. I'd never done a movie that had so many special effects before. I mean, you're on a set. We were at Pinewood Studios in London, and you're on a stage, and you have kind of something underneath you that they built, but all around you's blue screen and green screen, and you're looking at tennis balls, and they're creatures, and all these little lights that are flying around you, and they're supposed to be little fairies. And so you just have to use your imagination like no other, because they don't know what the final creatures are going to look like, so they can tell how tall they are, and if they're kind of scary or cute. So but still you just have to imagine it yourself. I was like, you're holding a little guy's hand, but it's air, you're not holding anything.
I always find it really funny when actors say, well, it wasn't real, and you think, it never is, actually. so I don't mind the pretend. I feel I'm quite used to it, and I think it just really enhances the film, because you get to build things that just you couldn't possibly create. So you suddenly, you go to the film and you see these creatures in this world, and my wings become more real, and everything becomes, and I didn't even know I was making a 3D movie. So that's how in the back I was.
I know you're there. Don't be afraid.
I am not afraid.
Then come out.
Then you'll be afraid.
No, I won't.
What was your reaction when you saw like these finished effects on screen?
That's like the exciting part about it, because you're just surrounded by kind of nothing, and then you get to see like the world that they created, and yeah, it's cool that you're like, oh wow, well I imagined it this way, and then they imagined it this way. It's because everyone has a different way of thinking, so it's neat to see what they came up with.
I know who you are.
Do you?
You're my fairy godmother.
So obviously the big question is, audiences are going to sit down, they're going to experience Maleficent. What are they going to get from their experience of this retelling of the story of Sleeping Beauty?
I think they're gonna love it. It's very, it is fantasy, that's for sure. Things are exaggerated in there, people with horns and wings, and it all has that. But there's a true moral to it, which is so nice. I feel like about Disney movies, it's kind of like hidden vegetables for kids. Like parents want them to watch it because it teaches them something good, but they actually don't know they're learning anything. They think they're just watching little things flying around. So it's something that's really nice.
I think that's a really good analogy. I'm gonna take that. Disney movies are like the hidden vegetables.
They are, yeah.
There is a goodness in there. It's kind of like they're covered in chocolate.
It's good for you.
Yeah, it's healthy chocolate.
There is evil in this world. Hatred and revenge.
Bring me her head.
Is it true? Are you Maleficent?
Angelina Jolie, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and well done on bringing Maleficent into real life. As far as she is real, she feels real.
Exactly. I know. I keep saying that as a human, she's a fairy.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. High five, maybe? Oh, okay. No, we're going to shake hands. I just need to grow up, man.
There you go.
I need to grow. We can do a handshake.
We can do it.
That was good.
Very, very nice interview. Thank you.
Did you really think so, though?
Yes, I thought it was great.
Oh, thanks. if I'm honest, I think the end I kind of tailed off a bit because like 10 minutes felt longer than I thought. So my last question was earlier, but I just made some stuff up.
Good.
Could you tell?
No.
Great.